back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. This Friday early evening video is a preview of Sunday afternoon's league opener against St Mirren. The game will be at Celtic Park. Kickoff is at 4:30 and the game will be live on Sky Sports. And I'm looking for a nice comfortable win to get Celtic off and running towards 5 in a row. Also in the video, we'll have a wee quick look at the Champions League draw, which will be on Monday morning, 4th of August at 11 o'clock. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a wee extra live stream live for that, for those who are up and about and free at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. Also in the video, just a wee quick update on a few transfers and loans, etc. in and out of Celtic, and also my predicted score and predicted lineup for the game against St Mirren, and one or two wee stats of our games against St Mirren last season and over the history of the fixture. So first things first, also a wee quick reflection on the press conferences today from Brendan Rodgers and from Alistair Johnston. And what I would really want to say is I would just wish Brendan Rodgers was as positive and focused on his players and teammates as much as Alistair Johnston. Alistair Johnston, always very bright and intelligent, always very, very positive. He was upping his teammates, saying how good Yang was, saying how good James Forrest was, heaping praise on all the players at the club, saying the squad is more than good enough to equal last season's achievements. It was a wee bit sad, he said, to see Nicholas Kuhn, Greg Taylor, Jeffrey Schlupp all leave. However, he was very much positive about everybody, including Hayato Inamura. In contrast, Brendan Rodgers made the press conference much about him, alluding to some conflicts with the board over lack of ambition, and that he hasn't been offered a contract yet. I think whether Brendan Rodgers stays or goes has nothing at all to do with what Celtic's board does or doesn't do in the transfer market. I think it's all down to whether Rodgers stays or goes. And I think also Rodgers should really acknowledge, which he didn't do, the fact that if there's uncertainty about whether he's staying for year 4 and 5, it does impact on the players currently at Celtic, and I'm pretty sure it also impacts on players coming to the club, as I'm sure most of them want to know that the manager who brings them in this season will be there for another couple of seasons to keep their careers progressing. And so I think if Brendan Rodgers was much more positive and certain in his pronouncements, it would help the players at the club and help players coming to the club. But I think he's created uncertainty. He's also seems to have created a bit of friction between him and the board and the chairman, etc. And I don't think that's very good for the club. Also, wasn't tremendously positive about the players at the club, wasn't tremendously positive about Hayato Inamura. I think he should be praising his players, saying how talented they were, how good they were, that they were good enough to achieve everything this season that we did last season. However, perfectly reasonable for him to say that he's looking to bring in bigger, better players, create a bit of competition for positions, a bit of upgrades in some positions, and also good squad depth as well. However, it was, I thought, a rather negative, disappointing press conference from Brendan Rodgers, and there was very little, I thought, that was praising his players or creating much confidence in Celtic for this season. However, enough of the press conferences. Moving on to the predicted lineup for tomorrow. This is how I think Celtic will line up tomorrow. I think Kasper Schmeichel in goals, Alistair Johnston at right back, Cameron Carter-Vickers right centre back. I think they're going to go for Austin Trusty at left centre back, Kieran Tierney at left back. And if he doesn't go for Austin Trusty, you can't really see the point of pre-season friendlies and pre-season warm-ups, as Scales was pretty poor in pretty much all the pre-season games, and Austin Trusty was in nearly all the games that I watched. He was Celtic's best player, or one of Celtic's best players, and certainly Celtic's best defender throughout the whole pre-season. Liam Scales looked rather shaky, rather dodgy, and not very confident on the ball, not very confident defending. And I would be very disappointed if Rodgers goes for Scales out of his loyalty to Scales. And I think it's time for Rodgers to go with Carter Vickers and Trusty as his number one partnership, and allow them to create further and further bonds and understandings between the two of them. Moving on to midfield, I think we'll start with Benjamin Negrin, Callum McGregor, and Rio Hatate, with Arnie Engels, Luke McCowan on the bench. Out wide on the right, Hai Yung Yang. In the middle, Adam Ida, and out wide on the left, Eisen Maida. On the bench, covering for Ida, I think we'll have Shin Yamada and one of Callum Osmond or Johnny Kenny. Might well go for Callum Osmond, as he does give an option for a wide player. And most likely Liam Scales on the bench alongside Anthony Ralston. Sinisalo as the backup goalkeeper. And I think also, obviously, James Forrest on the bench as well. Most likely to come on and replace Hai Yung Yang. At least that's what I think. Perfectly keen to see what you feel yourselves. You may have one or two disagreements regarding that. Personally, I would quite like to see Celtic using Negrin out on the right wing, using Engels as one of the central midfielder options. I think that's probably would be Celtic's best 11 players on the pitch. I think in time, Shin Yamada might well displace Adam Ida through the middle, and there's also the possibility of an extra one or two wide players and maybe another extra central striker if all goes well with the transfer window. My own prediction for the score for Sunday's game: nice comfortable 3-0 win for Celtic, similar to last season's games against St Mirren, where we beat them 3-0 away from home, 3-0 at home, 5-2 away from home, and then of course there was the last game of the season, which was a 1-1 draw, with James Forrest scoring that dramatic late equaliser on Trophy Day. In the last 58 games against St Mirren, Celtic have 47 wins, 6 draws and just 5 defeats. Celtic are on a 13-game unbeaten run against St Mirren, with 11 wins and 2 draws over that time. In terms of first games of the season, Celtic have won 16 and lost 1 of their opening league fixture. That only loss was in Ange Postecoglou's first season, where we lost 2-1 to Hearts. And finally, in terms of Celtic against St Mirren at Celtic Park, Celtic have a brilliant record of 25 wins, 3 draws and 1 loss. Moving on to a wee mention of the Champions League final qualifying round, playoff round, which will be on the week of 19th and 20th of August, second leg on the 22nd, 26th, 27th of August. The draw for that will be at 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and as I said, I'm putting together a possibility of a live stream for covering that draw, and I'll make a full announcement regarding that on Sunday. Celtic are seeded for that round. Doesn't guarantee us, unfortunately, a home leg in the second leg. The teams that we could play are going to be Basel of Switzerland, Sturm Graz of Austria. They are into this round automatically, and then the other 3 possible opponents are either ours, as the third qualifying round doesn't actually take place until this week and next week. So in terms of the either ors, we could play Dynamo Kiev of Ukraine or Pathos, the Cypriot champions. I would expect Dynamo Kiev to go through for that one. Most likely then we'll be playing away from home in Poland, I would guess, similar to how we've played Ukrainian sides in the past recently. Other possibilities: Slovan Bratislava of Slovakia. They are playing Kairat of Kazakhstan. Again, would fully expect Slovan Bratislava to go through of that one. Don't think Slovan Bratislava would be a particular challenge for Celtic. We thumped them 5-1 in the first game of last year's full Champions League, and I think we would have a nice comfortable win again against them at Celtic Park, and I think we could very happily hold on for a draw or a close 1-0 close away win in Bratislava. Other final possibility is Karabakh of Azerbaijan or Skendaya of Armenia. I think again Karabakh would be favourites to go through for that one. Only wee snag about going to Azerbaijan to play Karabakh is it's likely to be very hot and humid and not very easy conditions for most of Celtic's players to play in. As I said, I'm planning potentially to do a wee extra live stream on Monday morning, but I say we'll fully confirm that on Sunday. And the other wee bit of news is the poll for the choice of a weekday evening to have a David 67 channel live stream. The winning choice was Thursday, and that most likely will be 8 o'clock in the evening, possibly 9 o'clock in the evening. And I'll make a wee invitation for that sometime on Wednesday. Does look like Balikwisha Simpson-Pusey is about to sign for Celtic on a season-long loan. He was having the final negotiations and his medical today, Friday, at Celtic Park and at the training venue, and that deal is expected to go through either Friday evening or Saturday. Does look like one potential Celtic target, Michel Onge Balikwisha of Royal Antwerp, is instead going to be going to a team in France. At the moment, that's not been fully announced, but it does look like any possible talks between Celtic and Antwerp have broken down. And a lot of Celtic fans have been feeding back to me. They had quite a lot of misgivings regarding Balikwisha's quality, and certainly he does appear to have lost a wee step in pace and quite a lot of his trickery and ability to dribble and pass since he's had a couple of significant injuries. No update as yet on the Jacob Breum deal. Celtic also said to be looking at other players closely at the moment. Stefan Bajcetic, the defensive midfielder from Liverpool, that looks like a potential loan to buy deal, but that probably won't get going until Liverpool come back off their Far Eastern pre-season friendly tour. So that probably isn't going to go through in the near future. Other players Celtic said to be looking at: David Strelec of Slovan Bratislava. It's thought that Bratislava would be happy to sell Strelec to Celtic or anybody, particularly if they don't get through their Champions League qualifiers. They've got around 3 and potentially round 4 to get through. And so the indications are that Bratislava may well cash in on Strelec if they don't win both of those ties. Another player said to be on Celtic radar, Victor Eriksson, centre-back of Hammarby. He's recently got into the Swedish full international squad. He's had a wee bit of a varied career. He spent time at home in Sweden, then off to American Major League Soccer, which didn't go terribly well for him, but he's come back and had a couple of good seasons for Hammarby. And Celtic apparently have been closely looking at him. And the other player that Celtic are thought to be looking at is a 20-year-old left-back who plays for Monaco, a player called Kazum Ouattara. Not a player I particularly know at the moment, but he is thought to be one of the better, most promising young left-backs in European football. And finally, just to end off the video, a wee polite suggestion: if you are new to the channel, not yet subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. If you want to make any kind of comments regarding the predicted score, predicted lineup, your own thoughts about our potential Champions League opponents, or any other Celtic issues, please do pop those into the comment section for a nice wee pleasant debate chat amongst like-minded Celtic fans. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.